I think calling suing hackers a business model isn't actually accurate because we never get the money. It's a deterrent. I kind of didn't hear the first part of the question, so. Introducing more bugs. Well, fortunately, our development process is very good at introducing bugs. It's a not widely touted fact, and one that shocks a lot of people, is that we don't actually have any dedicated QA in the company. We develop and test internally, and the security team makes risk assessments based on what we find, but there's still plenty of bugs there. Yes? I can't really address the revenue number. Let me repeat the question, yes. The question was how many people do we have dedicated to security and how much of our total revenue do we dedicate to security? Can't really address the revenue number. And the number of people is actually pretty broad, and depending on how you define security. The core security team, the team that I described in the org chart there, is now about, I think, 20 some odd people out of 1,200. But we also have other organizations that have security responsibility that work with us. So we have a site integrity team that sits inside engineering and builds and maintains those automated systems I was discussing. And that's another, I think, 10 or 15 people right now. And then we also have our user operations team who part of their role is to respond to user requests for not just spam, but any other type of legal or illegal activity that may be reported, and to move that into the security chain, and that's about 200 some odd people. So if you take all those responsibilities together, you're talking somewhere, say 20% of the company is working on a security-related, directly working on some sort of security-related function. And we have strong security awareness throughout our whole development organization as well, which is about half the company. Yeah, well, I'll go with him first and then you're next. Yes? The question was, a lot of our user data sits on the CDN, the content distribution networks, and do we get back logs from those as part of our intelligence gathering and correlate that with our own logs? And the answer is we have. So where we're investigating things and we want to see if content is moving out through the CDN that we're not seeing directly, we absolutely will go to them and get logs. And we've actually, that was part of our original agreement with them when we first started using that. So we have that capability, yes. The question was, how is the relationship between our group and the Facebook management and CEO? The company is still very small, and it was very, very small when I started as well. So there's been an awareness of security early on at the highest levels of management. The relationship and direction is, I would say it's good. We definitely inform regularly to the management team about different attacks, different threats, and different, especially large, actionable investigations that are underway. That happens on a regular basis. I think that's the best way to describe it, is they're engaged, they know what we're doing. Okay, yes? Yeah, the question is, are we doing anything about advertising, and especially advertising through platforms or third-party networks? And the answer is yes, we are doing things. Our advertising strategy is evolving very quickly right now, especially in terms of platform and figuring out what we're doing there and how. And in fact, next week is our developers conference in San Francisco, where we'll be talking more about advertising and how to integrate those inside of applications. We have some things, some measures in place to, especially for third-party ad networks, to identify the ad and try and find malicious ones, of which there have been some, but also our own ads and the ad networks that we work with are very responsive in terms of removing that content quickly and helping us identify the people behind it. Anything else? No? Nothing, really? Well, is there one? Oh, hello. The question is, since we're using U.S. law to go after attacks, if someone's in a foreign country, are they free to attack Facebook? And the answer is actually no. The law and the way it's written specifically takes into account, especially the California law, which is very well written, takes into account the idea that the actors may not be under the jurisdiction of California, for instance, or the U.S., but that doesn't preclude us using that mechanism to make judgments against them. And the Canadian case is actually a good example. It's a Canadian living in Canada who we sued and got this judgment against. And we actually have mechanisms to, once we have the judgment in the U.S., to go to other countries and have the country recognize the judgment. Some countries have treaties where they'll do that. But also in other cases where we don't have a treaty, where, you know, your example of Brazil or China is probably applicable, they're not the entire that person that we end up suing is not the entire economic chain. They need to get their money from somewhere. They need to move their money somewhere. And you know, I don't see a lot of spammers that are interested in getting paid in reals. They're interested in getting paid in dollars or euros. And there's plenty of opportunity for a judgment that's under these acts to go after those assets. Yes. The question was, am I also involved in the privacy discussion? Me personally, or oh, the team? The privacy discussions going on worldwide around Facebook, and the answer is absolutely yes, because security and privacy on Facebook are very strongly intertwined. We can't offer people privacy around their personal information and control of it unless we have the security measures in place that allow them to do that. So we definitely engage our privacy discussions with an element of security, and our security discussions are also informed by our respect of our users' privacy. Does that answer the question? Kind of. Well, is there more? I mean,
yeah, I mean, it's the whole notion of sharing data with other parties is not very nice. And I mean, it's part of the business case, obviously, but it's not what any security expert or professional should actually support. Giving away data without letting people know, or even letting them know somewhere, like in a 7-point character, gray and white.
I think the follow-on point, we can actually talk more about this. The follow-on point was that sharing data, which is potentially part of a business model of a social networking site, is not something that a security professional should support. And I think that you know, the role of a security professional is to think about how to do things in a manner that is safe and respectful of the users. And I think we have a lot of stuff to do with it, but I'm not prepared to talk about that up here right now. But we can talk more about that later. Yes.
So what are the biggest security risks that Facebook faces?
The biggest security. Yeah, I love this question. The biggest security risks that Facebook faces or will face, and what keeps me up at night. I think, by and large, our biggest most disastrous event would be a wholesale loss of user data, a breach there. That doesn't actually keep me up at night because I think we're very well